Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. I have a really interesting topic today. A while ago, I made a video about how to buy perfumes, how to collect them, how to go about shopping for them, purchasing them, and that video did very well. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching it and for tuning in. But most importantly, I want to thank everybody so much for leaving the most incredible comments, thought-provoking comments underneath that video. We're not just talking your regular comments under a video that say, love your video, thank you for posting. No, we're talking paragraphs of comments. And I thought, oh, wow, that topic really struck a nerve. Sign of the times, if you may. And I thought, well, let's make a follow-up video where I also discuss with you your comments, your opinions, but also as we dive deeper into this topic of how to buy perfumes. And what I found very fascinating is most people that watched my other video were very, very vocal about the fact that they are kind of tired of seeing perfume reviewers or perfume content creators on social media, including YouTube, kind of reviewing a new perfume every day, every week, pushing for that, buy more, buy, buy more, collect more, get 100 bottles in a month. A lot of those content creators, mind you, guys that give you the FOMO while you're watching them, a lot of them receive those bottles for free. Sometimes they're sponsored by the brands that wish to, get exposure and get somebody in the fragrance community to talk about them. Other times it's PR packages or what have you, or other forms of gifts. This is not what we do on my channel. On my channel, we really take our time to get to know a perfume, to get to enjoy a perfume, to let a perfume tell its story to us. So when I unbox a new perfume and I review it, it's really a special occasion for me because it doesn't happen often. And warms my heart to have seen in the comments underneath that video people acknowledging this and saying it on their own without me having to remind anybody about this. People on their own saying, Dacob, really, when you do an unboxing and a review of a new perfume, it's a special occasion because you do them once in a blue moon on your channel. The sustainability of consumption of perfumes is really important to me. Not because it's a trendy topic, sustainability, a lot of brands are greenwashing, but, it's kind of since several years, it's been fashionable to talk about when it comes to fashion, we're making now, our shopping bags are not going to have a plastic foil. It's just going to be paper, so it's biodegradable, and this and that. And yet when it comes to perfumes, or organic cottons, and most of that is greenwashing, by the way. Don't trust almost anything you read on labels of fashion brands. And everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's a legend, just my opinion. But just be careful. They're going to use this kind of greenwashing strategy to make you think, oh, it's good that I'm buying this and that I am buying more of this. Now, the perfume industry, on the other hand, wants you to keep buying more and more and more. And I'm kind of not really for that. I'm not saying if you have the need and the desire to consume and to sniff on new perfume every day, by all means, you do you with your money. With your morals, you do you. It's not that I'm saying I don't want to have a lot of perfumes. I'm just saying I really need time with every new perfume that I fall in love with. I need a lot of time until I can deliver a final verdict about the perfume, until I can deliver an ultimate review of the perfume. I do make a video of the unboxing, a video of the first impressions, a video of the review, and then several years later, I'm going to make an updated review because the perfume throughout the years, that same perfume would have told me new stories, and many new stories. It would have also allowed me to access more memories in my being of who I am, or just memories or visions or fantasies or stories. So perfumes really, for me, it's a long-term relationship. So as a content creator that also, amongst other videos, has a channel dedicated, or amongst other channels, I do have several YouTube channels, but one of my YouTube channels that I love very much is my Perfume channel, which is this one right here, Essentially Dacob. So be sure to subscribe, thumb up this video, subscribe to this channel while you're watching if you're enjoying it, and push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today, gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob, all spelled together there as well, for extra perks. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream on my main superdacob channel several times a week, where you can come and join the chats. Hello to my co-chatters. And so, everything, perfumes, to me, are a long-term commitment. And so I take them seriously. They are also my best friends, and they're always there for me whenever I'm feeling down. A perfume can boost my mood and my energy. But how do we go about buying them? Because more and more people are writing me, and go check out my other video that I made about, my first video about how to buy perfumes. This can become a series if you're enjoying it. Let me know in the comment section down below if you wish to keep on going with the series of how to buy perfumes more sensibly, in a more also cost-effective way, so that you don't spend too much money buying stuff that you don't really end up liking just because you got the FOMO, because you heard some other influencer talk about the product that they might have gotten for free, that they might personally not like to wear themselves, but they're going to tell you that they love it. Be careful. Don't trust everything you hear on the internets. And so let me read a comment here by DIY Truth. Hello, T-Pal. T-Pal writes, "Thank you for sharing your strategy, because I want to buy everything, but I know that not all scents mesh with my chemistry. I rely on samples to help me figure out scents I have never experienced before, and I have been pleasantly surprised at times when a flower that I thought I may not like, I fell instantly in love with." And I said, thank you, T. Yes, restraint when it comes to new perfumes purchases is a good thing in my book, because the more time I spend with the perfumes I already own, and the more opportunities I will have for them to tell me more about themselves. When I buy a new perfume, the one I got prior fades a little bit into the background. So the question is, how soon do I want it to fade into the background? My answer to myself is, I want it to stay in the forefront for as long as possible, because if I love it so much, then I want it to be with me as close as possible for as long as possible. Just to have that thought in your mind while you are enjoying your new acquisition, before you start jumping on the next bandwagon wanting to purchase the new one. Think about this before you jump on purchasing the next one. The more time you spend with the current one you have, the better it gets, actually. The more you get to know it, the more intimate that relationship becomes between you and the perfume. So I'm really pushing and advocating for this concept of purchasing less fragrances and sticking to the ones you really love. Now, if you go and check out my first video on how to buy perfumes, I created a list of 4 points that I follow, the fourth point having sub-genres like 4A, 4B. But the 4 main points describe how I go about when I decide how and when to purchase a new perfume, or to add a new perfume to my collection. By new, not necessarily a new release. It can also be vintage, pre-loved, ancient, no matter. So go check out that video for those 4 points. Next comment that I found really fascinating by Garsimpa. Garsimpa says, I'll admit that in my collection of 150 bottles of perfume, Chanel, Guerlain, and Dior are overrepresented because these houses speak to my aesthetic. I'm very much Vieille France when it comes to my tastes. I loved this video, Dacob. Thank you so much. And this is why I've basically stopped watching other perfume review YouTube channels. They are about consumerism, not about perfume appreciation. A channel is then mentioned that comes to mind with a video that this channel posted called 50 Must-Own Fragrances for Beginners to Build an Amazing Collection. Garsimpa says that's crazy. Your method is sustainable and won't lead your viewers down the perfumed garden path. Thanks, Dacob. So this is really interesting, and I mentioned this comment because I then answered and I said, well, I actually made over a year ago, a video with a list, like the top 10 beginner perfumes list. So go check out that video as well on my Perfume channel. However, it's a little bit misleading, perhaps, because the title leads you to believe that I'm going to show you the 10 perfumes you got to buy. That's the trick. You won't get to hear the top 10 beginner perfumes. Instead, I will deliver a list of how you can, in a clever way, without spending too much money, figure out what it is that you love so much in perfumery, in perfumes. Which sort of accords, which sort of notes, which sort of materials. Are you a flower person? Are you a musk person? A resin, an amber person? An oak moss person? Are you more into the aroma chemicals? What sort of skin type do you have? You got to figure these things out. These are the tips I give beginners so that you don't fall down that rabbit hole at the beginning of your perfume journey, spending a ton of money buying stuff you're testing out and turns out you don't like them in the end. And I want to avoid you, spending all that money, but also creating so much, buying so much of these liquids, and these are chemicals at the end of the day. They're not really good for the environment. Nobody said perfumes were healthy for the physical side of us and humanity. I believe they're healthy for our soul. They boost my mood and my morale. But I am aware that perfumes themselves are chemical concoctions that are not the healthiest, if you may. Okay. But when it comes to beginners that are starting their perfume path and journey, there are ways of finding out what you really love without having to purchase hundreds of bottles of perfumes before you can build your nose up to know what you really like. The next one by Clarisse Marie. Clarisse Marie says, very interesting way of explaining a relationship between one and their chosen scents. Before I clicked this video, I bought 2 perfumes, and upon spraying them on me, I immediately began to feel sadness, death, and a far-off memory trying to be resurrected. It troubled me for a bit. Then I clicked this video. I'm going to sit with it and try and understand and get to know them. But since smell is tied to memory, I'm afraid these scents will just always make me sad. I went on a very long journey today. Now I know I just need to plan better and do more research first. This is what I meant at the beginning of this video, how beautiful your comments are, how thought through, how emotional, how they're really felt. It's rare, you guys, to find underneath any YouTube video nowadays such thought-provoking comments. So thank you so much for being so elegant and well-versed and willing to share your feelings with us. So this comment is wonderful. But Clarisse, I just want to say, you might be in that state of mind right now where you do not want to be sad. And that's okay. That's okay. Then maybe those 2 perfumes that you love, but they make you feel sad, maybe now is not the time to use them. Put them aside. Wait. That's my tip to you. Because there are those perfumes in my collection that make me go deep into my emotions, sometimes sadness, sometimes pain. And sometimes I don't want to feel those emotions. When I don't want to feel those emotions, I don't smell those perfumes. But there are those times when I do want those emotions to balance myself out somehow. Sometimes the poetry behind sadness is really what you need. There are other times when you do not need it. I can speak only for myself. There are those moments when I really need to feel that connection to, like you said in your comment, death. the passing of time, the mortality of our being. Some perfumes really express that so beautifully. And sometimes I need to smell that because they comfort me almost. They almost tell me, yes, you are finite, you will end, but it's okay. That is part of life as well. And they kind of cradle you and lull you to sleep, thinking that it's okay to also let go, to learn to let go. And I also always say that fragrances, when you spray them on, it's like you give birth to them, and then they develop in their, top note, heart note, base note, and then they kind of fade out on your skin and they die. The last breath of life that they emanate is when you're in the last stages of dry down. And this is a tip I often give people. I say, when you feel like the perfume is almost completely gone off your skin, then exhale warm breath onto that spot, like through your nostrils, and then inhale. The perfume will give you its last breath of life. It will pop those last base molecules that are in it, and you're going to get, in that moment, that last breath of life that perfume will emanate through its dry down. When you heat it up with your hot breath and then inhale, it will give you the most beautiful side of itself. And you will realize that the biggest beauty that a perfume holds, if it's done properly, is in the dry down, is in the ultimate last phase of the dry down. That's where it hides its core, its soul. And when it shows its soul to you, it's love. It's pure love. And the fact that it shows this last breath of life, and it's the most beautiful breath in the entire lifespan of the fragrance on your skin, the fact that it shows it in the end and not sooner, but only in the end and only one time, you connect that to death and you realize, wow, your most beautiful moment in life will be that last moment before you're completely gone. So perfume, a good perfume with good ingredients, well blended, where the dry down really is beautiful. A good perfume always kind of whispers in my ear to tell me, Dacob, when your time comes, it's going to be okay. It's going to be magical. And for that mere reason alone, I have another million reasons why I love perfumes, but that mere one reason alone is the most fundamental and the biggest reason why I love perfumes so much. Now, so this is, and I have other comments here as well. Warning Shoes says, hey, yesterday I had a conversation with a fragrance influencer that lives in the south of France. And she was telling me how lucky I am to be in Paris because niche stores are everywhere. I must admit that I always walk out with empty hands from these places, even if I'm obsessed with perfumes. Of course, we're not in the 80s anymore when everyone had one signature scent, but who needs 3,000 bottles? To me, the right balance is to have a few mainstream things accessible for good deals, and a few niches or exclusives to use for special occasions. New releases are rarely super original. LVMH and L'Oreal own most of the companies. So there are many, many dupes out there. Love you. I love you too, sweetie. What a wonderful comment. This is also really true. Whenever I go to Paris for work, usually you get a day off or you get some afternoons off and you rush, to the Marais or to the center in general, wherever there's perfume and fashion stores, right? And I enter a lot of these niche shops and Warning Shoes, I gotta agree with you. I end up not buying almost anything ever. Yes, they're quirky, they're special, they're conceptual. A lot of these perfumes, they have something, but I'm like, okay, but am I going to wear this a lot? And I always ask myself this question. Sometimes the people that work in these places are very gracious and they give you free samples. Okay, wonderful. I never say no to a freebie. I never say no to a sample. Of course I don't. But I agree. I'm that same person. You're so exposed to all these fragrances, especially when you're in Paris, that it's just makes me, instead of creating FOMO in me, instead it creates more the desire for me to cherish what I already have. Because I start comparing all these new smells to the ones that I already love, to the ones that I already have. And I always realize, well, I love the ones I have more. Rarely do I add something new to my collection. And when I do, it's precious, it's special. And I want it to be special. I want to use it for a long time. I want to savor it, treasure it, treat it like like a lover almost. Whenever I buy a new perfume, this sounds maybe a little bit creepy, but I put the bottle in bed, you know what I mean? Like next to me. I sleep with my perfume bottle. Nothing kinky goes on. Get your minds out of the gutter. I just love it so much. I spray it before I go to bed, and it's my little cuddle thing. It's like next to me, and I fall asleep, and I have my perfume bottle. When I wake up in the morning, it's like right there next to me again. It's really, really, really special. And I don't have one particular cupboard or shrine for my perfume bottles. They're all over the place. They're my friends. There's some are in the kitchen, some are in the living room, some are on the floor, some are on the bookshelves. The only place I never put perfumes is in the bathroom. It's too humid there when you shower or bath. They don't like that. Plus, if the perfume has some metal parts on the bottle, it might corrode with the water, with the humidity. Not good. I would never recommend putting perfumes in the bathroom. So there's that. Lisa Fox, also wonderful comment, says, I loved this topic and presentation. One more way to describe how we can or do celebrate passion for fragrance and how over time we can change the way we understand a perfume. Great work. Thank you, Dacob. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. This is really important, you guys. You have to give perfumes the time to understand them. Really. Jackie says in the chats, well, as a lady, my body chemistry, depending on the time of month, changes fragrance when I wear them. Outside climate makes a difference too. I have office fragrance and outside weekend fragrances. Yes. And not just for the ladies, for men as well. Body chemistry changes, fluctuates, and sometimes a certain smell, you prefer it more to another smell. Your mood changes, humidity outside, the temperature, the pressure, the air pressure, all of those factors contribute to how a perfume smells on you, to you. The same perfume you might be wearing today, tomorrow is going to smell different on you. There you go. Oh, Catherine, thank you so much. Catherine says, Dacob, I could not agree more. And this is one of the most beautiful things that you've ever said about the end. I think Catherine is referring to the fragrance is bringing you to an end, making you understand and appreciating also the final moments in life, and to be less afraid of the final moments in life. And Stephen also left a wonderful comment saying, I feel like revisiting perfumes, I think he's implying the ones that he already has, makes me buy less new perfumes because you realize how beautiful they are and you don't need a new one just yet. This is a great way also of kind of minimizing your spending on fragrances by remembering the ones you have and kind of reevaluating them. And like I said, perfumes keep talking to you. They keep evolving. You keep understanding them more and more. So in reality, the same perfume, if it's well done, with good ingredients and well blended, it will always be slightly different. It's almost like a new perfume. You remember it. It's like a good friend that you've aged together with and you haven't seen maybe for 20 years. And then when you meet up again, it's like no time has passed. And yet they're slightly different. They've grown. They've matured. They've evolved. You've evolved. And yet at the same time, you're both still the same at your core. And that's the beauty of fragrances and also of kind of using perfumes and enjoying them for longer periods of time and really understanding that actually one perfume is many different facets of one and the same thing. It almost feels like a different perfume worn in different environments and settings and scenarios. Celia So says, when I look for a review on a perfume, I turn to the, oh, thank you, to the only expert I respect and trust. That's you, Dacob. I love how they are truly reviews. At times, I watch them multiple times. Purchased Comet based on your review. I also got the Gardenia and Coromandel body oils. Love the shopping guide. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the 4 tips I was giving. Thank you so much. Yes. So thank you so much for your kind words. You know, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I watch my own perfume reviews after some time has passed again, not because I think, oh my God, I'm amazing at what I'm doing. Absolutely, that's not what I think. And I'm also not the person that's going to look in the morning in the mirror when I wake up thinking, oh, you look smashing today. No, I'm the type of person who's going to be relatively harsh on themselves. You know, I need to practice self-love much more, for sure, like I think most of us do. So I'm not the person who's going to be sitting here saying, well done, Dacob. The reason why I rewatch my perfume reviews from time to time is because to me they are journals, like my diary of emotions and stories that the perfumes tell me. And I love to record them on video so that I can remind myself several months or a couple of years down the line what I was thinking back then about the perfume, what that perfume was telling me back then. And I surprise myself because I tend to forget certain things, you know, because the perfume and I have furthered our relationship and there's more stories and more things that I could tell, that I could say today. And so sometimes it's really interesting for me to look back at a review of a fragrance that I've done months or years past prior, because it's beautiful because it kind of triggers that memory from the past. It's like looking at an old photo, in other words. And the description that the perfume gave me that I kind of channeled through my voice and then delivered to you guys is also a memory to me and a reminder to me of that part of the journey with that fragrance in that specific moment in time. This is also why I love to re-review fragrances over and over again, because every time I do, something else comes into mind. And this is also something that I've noticed almost no other perfume reviewers on social media do. For most people, it's a one and done deal. They're like, okay, I reviewed this perfume next, review this perfume next. And that's not how I feel about fragrances. I need to revisit them from time to time because there's a lot more to say. This is one of the reasons why whenever I unbox a new tiny 7.5 milliliter Parfum of Chanel No. 5, the spray refill, it's a tradition on my channel and in my life. Every time it's a special occasion, whenever I have emptied my 7.5 ml No. 5 Parfum spray, it's like a ritual. I have a new sealed refill ready. I make a video while I unbox it because it's special, and then I take the little vial and I put it into its metal container, and then I sniff the new batch, and then I talk about No. 5. And I've rewatched some of my older videos on Chanel No. 5. In every single one of these videos on the Parfum of Chanel No. 5, I deliver new information. Or rather, by the time I shoot a new video, every time I do shoot a new video on Chanel No. 5 Parfum, Chanel No. 5 has given me more information about itself. It has told me new stories. And I share those with you. So this is the beauty of also constantly rediscovering the fragrance that you love. It's a new experience every time. So you see, once you see perfumes in this way, there is no need to keep buying new ones all the time. There's also, for all of you other content creators out there, there's no need for you to keep buying new perfumes in order to keep creating new content. Really, all you got to do is look into your archives, which you already own, and keep digging inside of those and keep making content about them, because the perfumes you love the most are going to be the ones that are going to have the most stories to tell you. And the more stories that they tell you, and the more stories you get to share with us, viewers, and the more stories you get to share with us, and the more beautiful the experience of reviewing the fragrance ultimately becomes. It's a long durational performance piece, in other words. The revisitation of a perfume, yes, on one end, it allows us to purchase less other fragrances, save some money, but also create less waste. But also at the same time, it allows us to really deepen our humanity, the poetry behind these things, the emotions they give us. And it also is a great exercise in learning how to express our emotions. I've been hearing this often when it comes to the vocabulary of perfumes and describing perfume smells. Most people say, most people that are in the perfume industry say, it's kind of sad how brand marketing has turned perfumes into a very limited vocabulary, like saying, oh, this smells fresh, this smells clean, this smells fruity, this smells floral, this smells ambery, and that's it. Okay, spicy, peppery, you know what I'm saying. And that's so limiting. That's such a limited vocabulary for an art form that in reality actually deserves a much wider spectrum of words and combination of words and description of emotions in order to talk about them. And so this is another issue that I have with modern day perfumery that has kind of adopted the description wheel of Mr. Michael Edwards' Perfumes of the World. Now, I do respect him a lot and I love his work and I have his books. But he created this wheel, which a lot of people in the industry think it's a great thing because it made it much simpler for perfume shops to understand which category of perfume they're buying for their clients. But it's very limiting. It's basically a wheel that he created that, kind of puts perfumes in categories. And you have, the chypre, the floral, fruity floral, amber, it's very limiting. Very limited amount. And from that kind of circle, you spread out to subcategories. And while this might be great and very simple for businesses that deal in perfumery to thrive and to simplify the categories, also to understand what their customers like more in terms of olfactive direction, to me, it's very limiting. And I had to really work hard to deprogram myself because, when I started learning more about perfumes, I was also indoctrinated into that perfume wheel chart, which is kind of a fossil. It is the law, within the perfume world. And so you learned through those tools the categories, and once you've you're stuck with them, and once you've kind of indoctrinated yourself into that, it's really hard to deprogram yourself and exit again, and to allow your mind to soar and to fly. And when you're talking about a review of a perfume, to no longer, just give it the connotation of chypre, fruity, floral, this or that, but free your mind from that and go off into not really so much so the category of the fragrance you're reviewing, but rather the story it tells you. That's my personal, if you want to, put labels on things, that's kind of my method of feeling a fragrance. Sometimes the category of aldehydic perfumes, we know Chanel does aldehydes all the time, but sometimes even though perfume is very heavily aldehydic, I will not feel the aldehydes because I'm trying with my mind to detach myself from these categories. So for example, one of the latest aldehydic bombs to be released is Christian Dior's New Look, which I consider to be a masterpiece by Francis Kurkdjian. A lot of people do not like it. I love it. Now, it's an aldehydic bomb with the frankincense. It does go in that incensey direction later on, but technically I understand the aldehydes, and I can smell it out if you tell me, look, New Look is all about the aldehyde opening. Sure. But if I close my eyes and I try to forget the aldehydes and I smell New Look for what it is, I do not smell the aldehydes. I don't see the aldehydic category within that perfume. That perfume tells me a totally different story. A totally different story. In fact, you could check out my review of New Look, and you're going to hear the story of the theater, of the red velvet curtains, of the game that's being played behind the red velvet curtains. And it's a clairvoyant game. Somebody's reading the future, but it could be also somebody who's reading tarot cards. There's a secret there. That's the category of New Look. The category for me of the perfume New Look by Dior is not aldehydic incense. No. The category of New Look for me is an ancient theater with very heavy, dusty, red velvet curtains and a cartomancer sitting behind one of those curtains reading somebody's cards. That's my category for New Look. Completely detached from this kind of cartwheel that we've been indoctrinated into looking at. And when you see perfumes like this, at least this works for me, I automatically buy less fragrances. Because if I simplify the categories of these perfumes for me into amber, chypre, floral, woody, then I see them as products that are very easily consumable, and I can buy a lot more of them. But instead, if we complicate a little bit the description of the categories, like I just did with New Look, well, then all of a sudden, it's not just an easily consumable product that we use and move on. No, instead it becomes a character, personality, alive, almost. So you want to get to know this person, this character much more. And in order to get to know them, you need more time. So in order to really consume them, you're going to end up spending much more time with them than you would if you were to limit that fragrance to, let's say, just, in the case of New Look, aldehydic incense. Okay, sure. There are a dime a dozen aldehydic incense accords. There's hundreds of them. But are they all the same? No. And yet, it kind of makes you feel like they are. Oh, this ambery accord. Okay, so here's a wonderful amber from the 80s. Obsession by Calvin Klein. Okay, this is the original bottle, actually, designed by Pierre Dinant from the 80s. Gorgeous splash bottle. Amber. With a ton of oak moss. Okay, you could say chypre-esque in a way. It has a green opening. Okay, done. Moving on to the next perfume. But instead, it's not an amber. Green amber accord. No. This is a memory. It's a vision of a travel, of a journey far, far away. Sandy beaches. Honey drying on salty skin that came out of the ocean. Hair being all tangled up in knots, long hair, because of the salt of the ocean. You're trying to detangle it as the wet breeze of the air with the wind of the ocean of the wind kind of comes towards you, and you smell it in the air, and it impermeates you. And then you want to put on that thick knitted cotton sweater on top of you just getting out of that ocean and walking towards your home, and with all that kind of grass swaying in the wind, and that green grass has a certain type of smell that mixes with that honey. You don't know where the honey came from, but it's just stuck to your skin. Whole world built up. instead of just reducing this to an green amber accord category. And when we start building this world, this book forms, we spend more and more time with it, and we have less and less desire to buy a ton of other perfumes. So think about that next time the bug bites you and you want to buy 10 new perfumes. And let me know if you like the series of kind of talking about buying perfumes in a more thoughtful way, sensible way, cost-effective way. Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you like the series, we can keep going with it. Thumb up this video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe, and until next time, never forget to never give up on perfume love. Bye.